persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him, takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
You know how to make an A-bomb.
Major, most of my high school chess team could design an A-bomb.
Hello everyone and welcome to another Stargate video. Nukes and Stargate name a more iconic duo. The franchise has used nukes as primary weapons since the beginning, and in this video I want to cover the history of nuclear bombs in Stargate. This won't be a comprehensive list of every time nukes are mentioned or used, just because there's so many little instances of it. I joke about the amount of nickels I'd have for every time a nuke is mentioned or used, but A, it would be a very large amount, and B, I'd have so many irradiated nickels, I'm likely to become a ghoul from Fallout.
Well, good luck with that.
And some of these instances, I just don't think are all that important. For example, in the Atlantis episode, The Ark, we learn of a human civilization who used nukes to wipe out some Wraith as well as the rest of their civilization. Or again, in Atlantis, when the expedition used a nuclear blast to destroy a nanovirus. It's cool to learn, but in this video I want to focus on how the Tari used these weapons, and specifically when they used them against military targets. I'll bring up some of the little instances if I find it necessary, or really funny, but again, don't expect this to be a comprehensive list of every single time the bomb was mentioned or used. Starting off in the original movie with Colonel O'Neill, with 1L. He was sent with orders that if any danger was found on the other side of the gate, he was to destroy it along with the Stargate with a nuclear bomb. However, Rod took the bomb when he arrived and planned to send it back through the Stargate with a shipment of Naquadah that would cause a massive explosion on Earth. The bomb was rigged so it couldn't be deactivated, so O'Neill and Jackson used a ring transport to send the bomb up to Ra's ship. You know, using a nuclear bomb to kill a single individual is pretty metal, not going to lie. I'm also ignoring that there were definitely more people on that ship, because then we'd have to acknowledge that Ra's pet cat would have been killed too, and I'm just gonna pretend I didn't see that. And just to show the love of nukes in this franchise, during SG-1's pilot episode, Children of the Gods, after Apophis came through the gate and attacked the SGC, the military's first reaction was to send a nuke through the gate again. Remember, at this time they didn't know there was a wider network of Stargates, so they thought Apophis must have come from Abydos. One of the cool things about Stargate as it went on was when Earth found new technologies, they would try to incorporate it into modern technology. Case in point, the Goa'uld Buster, a Mark 12A nuclear bomb enriched with Naquadah. Two of these were shot at Apophis' attack vessels when he launched an attack on Earth. Unfortunately, due to the ship's shields, the bombs had no effect. After this failure, it was suggested to start sending nukes through the gate to Chulak, or the planet Apophis' ships came from. While a similar sequence of events led them to doing this in another timeline, in the Prime One, Hammond said this:
"We already tried to send a team through to Dr. Jackson's coordinates. It won't work. And I can't think of any military reason to wipe out the people of Chulak."
Probably a good thing we had people like Hammond in charge who weren't as nuke happy as others, given what happened during the events of Chain Reaction. When the NID forced Hammond to retire early and Major General Henry Bauer took command. He ordered Sam to help in the construction and test of a new Naquadah-enhanced nuclear warhead. The point of this nuke was so that it would have a chain reaction with the Naquadah in the soil of a planet. The idea behind this weapon wasn't all that bad from a military standpoint.
Most worlds occupied by the Goa'uld do have a high incidence of Naquadah. This could be a very effective weapon against them.
However, the issue was due to the wormhole connecting the two planets, and all that radiation would travel back to Earth. The general dismissed this possibility until they sent the bomb, and not only was all that radiation starting to pour in, but they couldn't shut the gate down. It was theorized that the nuke had turned the planet into a big ball of hot plasma, and it could power the gate for months. Even if they blew up the base, eventually that radiation would seep through the mountain of rock if the gate stayed open. Thankfully, the 38-minute window kicked in and the gate shut down. This was probably a good lesson for SG-1 since a similar thing happened in the episode Failsafe, when a Goa'uld sent an asteroid to Earth on a collision course. Initially, SG-1 was sent to drop off a nuke that would break up the asteroid. However, once they arrived, they had a problem.
I don't want to hear it.
Sir, the asteroid's core is composed almost entirely of naquita.
Of course it is.
It makes up about 45% of the total mass.
Of course it does.
This left SG-1 in a doomed either way situation. If they do nothing, the asteroid collides with Earth and we get a repeat of the dinosaurs. If they set off the nuke they brought...
Well, the explosion will be enhanced by the naquita, probably to the force of a small nova. This close to Earth, it would be enough to set the atmosphere on fire and boil the oceans.
Okay, this was not in the movie.
They would prevent the asteroid from hitting Earth via other means, but funny little note here. See, it was very likely that it was Anubis who sent the asteroid. And something to remember about the Goa'uld is that they are scavengers who steal the technology or the concepts of certain technology from other races. Despite humans not being as advanced as the Goa'uld, they did start to borrow certain ideas from them, such as the Goa'uld reconnaissance drone.
You know, it makes sense. We use a map, why wouldn't the Goa'uld?
The Goa'uld are scavengers. It is quite possible they got the idea from us.
I bring this up because during the events of Lost City, when Anubis launched an attack on Earth, he dialed the gate and did this.
Unauthorized off-road activation.
That was a nuke, or worse.
Now, we have no way of knowing if that was a nuke or not, but I just love the idea that a Goa'uld looked at our nukes and was like,
Brilliant! Why didn't I think of that? Cut, print, check the gate, moving on.
And this wasn't the last time the Goa'uld tried to use our own nuclear weapons against us. During the events of Full Alert, the System Lords had infiltrated the Trust and tried to cause a nuclear war between Russia and the United States. There was also this line from O'Neill when the replicators invaded the SGC.
Those bugs cannot get out of this mountain.
It's only a matter of time before they gain control of the base systems and override the security doors.
All right, let's make sure everybody's out of here, and then we'll toss a little nuke down the silo.
Think that'll stop them?
Should slow them down.
Now, a nuke was never used, but...
I don't know, Doc. Sometimes you just gotta say, nuke 'em.
Before moving on, we need to backpedal a little bit to talk about Kelowna. It was a nation on the planet Langara who had been in contact with the SGC for some time. Langara had a special variation of naquita called naquadria. It was special in the sense that it's highly unstable and radioactive. The Kelownians used it to make a nuclear bomb due to rising tensions with their neighbors. While the bomb did end a war between the three nations of Langara, the testing of this weapon also caused a chain reaction with the naquita beneath the planet's surface. It was being converted into naquadria and threatened to render the whole planet uninhabitable when a larger vein of it would have detonated. Or as O'Neill put it,
Ah, for crying out loud.
Jack?
Who cares whose fault it is?
Jack.
Your planet is gonna blow up.
Jack.
The whole planet, Daniel.
Okay, I think it's best if we all just take a little recess right now.
Now yes, this was not an Earth nuke and there were very specific circumstances that caused this, but I bring it up because Earth saw this whole thing go down and was like,
I'll take your entire stock!
As later on we got the Mark IX. Unlike previous warheads which were enhanced with naquita, these warheads were enhanced with naquadria, giving these warheads a multi-gigaton detonation. They were specifically designed to destroy anything in a 100-mile radius, including the almost indestructible Stargates, hence their nickname, the Gatebusters. These warheads were first used during the Orai invasion. On the planet Kelowna, the bomb was used in an attempt to destroy the planet's Stargate in order to sever a connection and destroy a force field a Prior was creating that was spreading beyond the gate. Unfortunately, SG-1 played right into the hands of the Orai. The explosion of the Mark IX provided almost 70% of the power needed to complete the force field. The planet collapsed into a micro-singularity that would have powered a supergate, which would have been used as a beachhead for a larger invasion. Sadly, Earth's nukes would have further problems with the Orai. During the battle of the second supergate, the Aussie found they could not beam a warhead onto the Orai ships. though Daniel suggested they could try and use the ring transports to send a nuke over. While he didn't have time to send the nuke as the Korolev was being destroyed, Daniel himself was able to use the rings to transport over to the Orai ship. So in theory, this could have worked. Just some quick mentions here, a nuke was used to sever a connection between alternate realities during Ripple Effect when the SGC became the Grand Central Station for the multiverse. A total of 5 nukes were used in an attempt to tie up the Supergate with a gate in the Pegasus galaxy during Project Pegasus. 2 of them were beamed onto a hive ship in order to do this. The Mark 9 would later be used to sever this connection so SG-1 could send an anti-Orai weapon through the Supergate to the Orai galaxy, killing all the Orai except 1. SG-1's last use of the Mark 9 and nukes in general was during the events of Arc of Truth, in which they didn't really use them. Sam had come up with a plan to place 4 Mark 9s between the Supergate segments. When the gate would be activated, this would detonate the warheads and destroy the Supergate. Though this plan was never used in favor of using the gate to travel to the Orai galaxy in search of the Arc of Truth. This was not the last mention or appearance of the Mark 9, but in order to talk about that, we need to go back through to Atlantis' use of nukes. And I swear, the Siege episodes, specifically parts 2 and 3, use almost as many nukes as the rest of the franchise combined. We have 6 Nakoda-enhanced bombs that were placed in orbit of the planet Atlantis was on. Sadly, the Wraith destroyed these bombs with asteroids. 2 Janai bombs were used against the Wraith. Do those even count, even though I said I'm going to focus on the Tari's use of these weapons? You know what, the Janai didn't make them right, so Rodney and Zelenka had to finish them, so yes, they were ours. When the Daedalus arrived, the nukes just kept coming. First attempting to fire 2 Mark 8s at the Wraith ships, though they were intercepted. This leads to what the Daedalus is really remembered for the siege, using the Asgard teleportation tech to beam the nukes directly onto the Hive ships.
No. Sir, Hermia isn't gonna like that.
Get it done, Doctor. That's an order.
They literally did the meme of, oh, that's cute, beam a warhead onto the bridge. They did this 3 times. Though the Wraith did find a way to jam the teleportation, faced with overwhelming odds, the Atlantis expedition decided to fake the destruction of Atlantis with a nuke.
I love this idea. I really do.
I love this franchise. One interesting example of nukes I thought to mention was during a coup attempt among the Janai. Though this was not by the efforts of the expedition, it is very funny for this moment here.
What have you done? Shield up.
When Atlantis was taken over by the Asurans, it was decided to have a nuke beamed and detonated inside the city to prevent them from reaching the Milky Way. Though, thanks to the actions of the Atlantis team, this was prevented. Later on, during the episode First Strike, the Tari would launch a preemptive strike on the Asurans with Horizon, a strategic weapons delivery system that would launch 6 Mark 9s and 4 decoys. And then we get to the series finale, where in order to destroy a super hive above Earth, Shepard flies in with a 302 inside the hive, intending to detonate a nuke. Thankfully, he and the rest of the Atlantis crew managed to escape before the ship went boom. The next show universe didn't have as many nukes, but some were added. The Novans, the descendants of an alternate timeline Destiny crew, also developed nuclear weapons. Specifically, the 2 major nations of Novus made these weapons to use against one another, but never did. And that was a brief overview of the history of nukes in Stargate. There were at least 2 uses of nukes in the books, but I think we've reached our recommended amount of rads in this video. Again, this wasn't meant to be a comprehensive list of every time a nuke was mentioned or used. I'm sure I missed a few, and those in the comments will be more than happy to point those out. I don't really have any deeper thoughts to end this video on, so as I ramble a bit, here's some graphics showing the number of nukes mentioned and used in each show. I just wanted to make this video because I always thought Stargate's use of nukes was so interesting. Not that Stargate is unique for using nukes, plenty of franchises have them. Halo, Dune, 40K, Battlestar Galactica, The Expanse, and Fallout?
Since you haven't pissed yourself, I'll assume that you don't know who we are. Next time I'll bring my sickle and wear my black cloak. See, the NCR sends us when they want terrible things done to terrible people.
There's probably way more, those are just the ones off the top of my head. What I find interesting about Stargate's use of nukes is more the attitude than the actual use. I notice most franchises usually treat nukes in one of two ways. In higher tier science fiction, such as Star Trek, nukes are kind of not a problem. Yes, nukes can be an issue depending on the time period or if the shields are up or not. But from what I understand, Star Trek is a universe where nukes are not considered viable weapons in combat, and they've had to develop more advanced forms of weapons, such as the photon torpedo. Then you have lower tier science fiction where nukes are part of the arsenal and are still used, but they are treated with the same hesitation we have with nukes today and are only used in certain situations. That hesitation and fear of nukes is somewhat present in Stargate, but it's kind of Jonas's thing. He joined SG-1 so Stargate Command would develop defensive weapons within the Quadria to convince his people not to make the offensive bomb. However, at the same time, Earth would develop the Mark IX using the Quadria, and use it they did. And this does make sense. Earth and Stargate found out about hostile aliens in the late 90s, and the most advanced weapon we had at that time was the bomb. And given some of the threats they were up against, it makes sense they would use what weapons they had as well as advance them. Also interesting is the times they used the bombs for non-military matters, like tying up the second Supergate with one in Pegasus. Sure, there was a military advantage in doing that, preventing more Orai ships from coming through, but this wasn't a case of just nuking something, if that makes any sense. But what do you all think? Do you like that Stargate uses nukes so much? Trick question, there is only one correct answer. What's your favorite use of nuke in Stargate, and were there any I missed? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe. Follow my social medias. And remember...
You want to see me, Rodney?
Yes. I need something to keep me awake.
Yeah, me too. I've already given you something.
Yeah, well, we're building nuclear bombs here. Staying awake is sort of a prerequisite.
Snappy. All right, I'll get you another stimulant. Carry on.
Thank you.